Hello everyone, I'm Zan and it's Monday here on Diary of a Gender Fluid. We are currently undergoing a format change on this channel, but I will leave the specifics to somebody else to discuss. Today is just going to be kind of like a free topic week. Today I wanted to talk about sexuality, and I thought I would share my personal experience of figuring out my sexuality, because I had a very specific problem, and I know that I can't possibly be the only one out there who had this problem, so I figured I would share my story in case anybody else is going through something similar and needs some help. So, growing up, I would go to sleepovers in, elementary school and middle school, and we would do stereotypical sleepover things. We would play Truth or Dare, and I would say truth, and I would be asked, "Who do you like?" This question is a question that everybody was asked, and it was the question that I always dreaded, because I didn't like anyone. No one. I told them this every time, and every time they said, "Come on, that's not fair. I told you who I like. Now you have to tell me who you like." They said, "We're not going to make fun of you. Just tell us who it is." And I tried so hard to explain to them that there was literally no one that I liked. And they would never believe me. No matter how hard I tried to convince them. They always thought I was lying to them. I would sometimes like the idea of a relationship, but when it came to it, I never wanted one. In middle school and high school, I turned down a total of 8 cisgender males, and some of them, I even thought that I had liked them before they asked me, and the second they asked me, it became real, and I was like, no, I don't want that. And I definitely thought there was something wrong with me. I tried to explain it to my friends, I even tried to explain it to my mom, and nobody had answers for me. Friends told me I was lying. My mom told me that I would want relationships when I was older. And of course it makes sense, I guess, that she would say that, because how could she know that this wasn't going to go away? Freshman year of high school, somebody asked me out and I said yes. I held his hand a total of 1 time, so that I wouldn't fall down while I was ice skating. There was no physical contact. I wanted no physical contact. I didn't even like him. I thought I did. I thought that the way I was feeling was the way that everybody felt. And I had no other thing to go on. Like, all I knew was what I felt. And I didn't understand why he wanted to spend so much time with me. Honestly, for me, it was more of a friendship than anything else. I didn't understand why he was so upset when we broke up. And then the next boy I dated, the same thing happened. And then the next one. I would go on a date, and I would get back into my car afterwards and just breathe out and be like, thank goodness that's over. And it was no good, because I felt horrible, because they liked me, and I had no feelings for them, none at all, nothing. Eventually we would break up, and I would feel nothing except relief, and they would be upset, and I didn't understand why. In my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, that time period, I decided it must be because I am demi-romantic. Even back when I started posting videos on this channel, in my first video I told you all that I am pansexual and demi-romantic, and that's not true. I knew at the time that I told you that it wasn't true, but it had been what I had been saying for so long that I just said it automatically. Even though I knew that there was something wrong with that. Over the summer of 2015, so the most recent summer, I finally accepted that I like girls. And I had been identifying as bisexual since I was like a sophomore or a junior in high school. And then I was identifying as pansexual by the time I was a senior in high school. And I guess even though I knew it was true, I still couldn't accept that I liked girls. And once I finally did that, over the last summer, all of a sudden I had crushes on people, like, all the time. Just like everybody else did back in elementary school, back in middle school. They always liked somebody. Always. And I never did. And now I have that feeling. That same feeling that all of my friends had for, like, their entire lives. Because looking back, I see that I had crushes on so many girls growing up, but I thought that they were just people I really wanted to be friends with. I thought that's what that feeling was. And now that I know better, a lot of things make so much more sense. Now I identify as queer. I am technically pansexual, but I am definitely not demi-romantic. I don't really know what my romanticality is. I like girls, non-binary people, basically anything except for cisgender males. And in relation to gender, because of being non-binary, I had a lot of problems trying to figure out my sexuality and romanticality recently. The problem seemed to be a lack of language. Now, a lack of language is really what a lot of problems get down to when you get to the very bottom of it. Because if you have a feeling and there is no word to describe the feeling, you're gonna feel really alone. And with the example of, let's say we have a genderqueer person. So this person is genderqueer and only likes women. So what do they call themselves? Do they just have to use the umbrella term queer forever? I know that there are words out there for that kind of stuff, but they are extremely, extremely not well known. I found them during so much searching, but I realized that I didn't want personally to identify with those words because nobody would know what I was saying when I would tell them. So back to the example. If a genderqueer person only likes women and this genderqueer person identifies as straight, it implies that the genderqueer person is a man. But what if they aren't? And if this genderqueer person identifies as gay or lesbian, that implies that this genderqueer person is a woman. And what if they're not? What if they are just genderqueer and they only like women? What do you call them? And I know I've heard the terms femsexual and all of that, the attraction to femininity, but like, not all women are feminine. And that's a big problem when it comes down to the mix between gender and sexuality, because a lot of our terms for sexuality are extremely binary, which is, of course, why the word pansexual was even come up with in the first place. It was because bisexual was a bit too binary for people. Although a lot of people do use the word bisexual meaning attraction to multiple genders instead of attraction to two genders, which would be the suffix bi as in two, and pan is the suffix for all. And those words are used interchangeably by some people, and that's totally cool. But we need inclusive terms for people who are non-binary. So to sum it all up, gender, sexuality, romanticality, all very different, all combined in so many different ways, and quite confusing when you're trying to figure all of them out at the same time. And that's where a lot of people get into that time in your life when you're just thinking of it all the time and you can't think of anything else. And the important thing to know when you're going through that really hard time, trapped thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about all of this in relation to each other and not being able to focus as much on other things in your life, the important thing to know is that a lot of us have gone through the exact same thing and we all made it to the other side, and you can too. And as cheesy as it sounds, you're not alone. I'm Zan, and I'll see you next Monday.